And coming in at number 3, and this is probably a little surprising to a lot of you, but Quantum of Solace, I think, is well deserving at the number 3 spot. It was a first-person shooter, but you could go to cover and it'd be third person. So I mean, that's kind of what you wanted, because you wanted to go into cover and, you know, peek around corners and shoot, and not really any of the games before that allowed you to do that, and this game did. So in that sense, it was already cool. And then following, it combined Casino Royale with Quantum of Solace, so it was basically 2 movies in one, which was really cool going through that, because I mean, in a kind of sense, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace are kind of a sequel, so throwing them together in one game and seeing how it all comes together as a video game was really cool. The gameplay was pretty fun. I mean, it followed the missions and stuff. You had to go stealth sometimes. You had to there were like secret passageways you could take every once in a while, and there usually was in Bond games. But there are cameras you have to disable. I mean, the really sad part is I have, I think, 48 out of 50 achievements for this game, and I don't know. I've been a little too lazy to get the last 2, because I'd have to go through like the whole story again, because it's picking up like cell phones and power weapons and whatnot. So I mean, if I'm bored enough, I'll probably try and go for it all. And that's probably another sense of why it's a top 3, is because it's like one of the few Bond games where I've had so much fun like getting achievements and going for achievements. And that, I mean, I've only had 2 other like completed games for achievements, and those were 2 Call of Duties, COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2. So I mean, it has to be pretty good if I liked it that much. I mean, good stuff, good weapons. Multiplayer was probably the best online multiplayer that James Bond has had. I mean, in a sense, it was kind of like Call of Duty, but it had a little bit taste of its own, giving you gadgets and whatnot. I mean, Golden Gun was a really fun game. I mean, it's free for all, but you're all trying to get this Golden Gun, which is completely OP, and when you have it, you feel so powerful. It's an intense game mode. It's kind of like King of the Hill, but you take the Golden Gun, and it's one, I think in this, I mean, there are a couple different varieties of it in different Bond games. Like, sometimes it was one shot, one kill. This one, it was like shooting grenades out of it and exploding on impact. Pretty fun game mode. Otherwise, there was usually, actually played, this was the game that had the most people on the multiplayer, because you could actually play different game types. Like, you had that Golden Gun, and then there was also Bond Versus, which was pretty intense. I mean, it was 6-on-6, but one of you got to be James Bond, and James Bond can see all the enemies that show up on his radar, and basically the other team has to kill James Bond, and the good team with James Bond has to escort him to the objective. Or no, that's Bond Evasion. Sorry. Bond Evasion is when one team tries to kill James Bond, and the other team tries to escort James Bond to this point on the other team's side to escape and win. Bond Versus is 5-on-1, I believe, and James Bond can see everybody, and basically James Bond either has to blow up 2 objectives or kill everybody on the other team, or time run out. I mean, it's odd, and you might think it's a little OP, but it's actually pretty balanced. It's pretty fun. But yeah, like lots of game types. Best multiplayer. I actually maxed out on multiplayer, which is crazy to think about a James Bond game. But yeah, definitely deserved number 3. Underrated game, really underrated. So, thought well deserved there. And now where the real controversy begins, coming in at number 2 is the original GoldenEye. Probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but it came out on the N64, and I mean, I played it a lot at my cousin's house because my cousin owned it, so I'd always go to my cousin's house and play this. And I mean, every time we were playing it, we had the cheats on. So we'd go to like the first level, be invisible and invincible, and throw like 20,000 like bombs in the bathroom where this guy's like taking a shit, and then we walk out of the bathroom, blow it up, and you'd see the guy just fly out of the stall, like off the toilet, out of the stall, hit his head on the mirror and die. I mean, it was fantastic. And then we'd have like a shit ton of knives and just be chucking knives at these guys. I mean, it was probably the cheats that were the most fun part of this game. I mean, it was really just played for the cheats, but in that sense it was still pretty fun. Story mode was alright. I mean, if you think about it now, I mean, the graphics are shit, but I mean, the gameplay is really fun. Just going through that, and I believe they threw in Jaws in there as well. They threw in a couple of different characters. I can't remember, it's been so long since I've actually played it, but yeah, I think they threw in a couple other players to throw in with the story mode. But it was a fun game. Thought it was good times with my cousin. Probably the only good time I've had with my cousin, to be honest with you. But yeah, definitely an intense game, but I think it's most liked for its cheats, in my opinion. People actually liked it for its story, but of course they made the remake GoldenEye Reloaded, which was number 10. But yeah, so that brings number 1, well deserving in my opinion, Nightfire. The best James Bond video game to date, and it came out in 2002. Now, where do I start? I mean, I'm just gonna start out by saying, I mean, I played this with my brother, I played this with all my friends. Everybody had this game that I knew, and everybody loved it. I mean, the story mode is great. It's actually a sequel to Agent Under Fire, so in that sense it's cool already. It has Pierce Brosnan in it, it has Judi Dench, it has awesome Bond girls, probably one of the best car gameplay in James Bond. I mean, you can fire missiles, you can fire EMPs, you can go on your side, you know. I mean, it was an awesome game. It was always fun playing the first mission, because like, if I didn't save it, it'd make me do it demo style, and the first mission is actually really fun, as are all the missions. But I think the most played mission for me, besides the last mission, because I love doing that space one, although it was freaking hard if you did it on the hardest difficulty, I died all the time. But my most played mission was probably the snowmobile mission. I love that. I played so much, I played it so much at the beginning when you're in the shed trying to start it up, and people were popping out of nowhere. I knew where they were gonna pop out. Like, I'd hit left, I'd instantly turn like 90 degrees, kill those two guys. Two guys would be like in a tower in the distance, I'd take them out. I knew where everybody was spawning on that mission. So it made it pretty easy for me, but it was very intense. But I don't want to ramble on about the story too much, because I could for days. Weapons, definitely the best weapons. I mean, you had anything from the classic PP7 to, you know, golden PP7 to Type 40, the Raptor Magnum. The machine guns were awesome. You had a tranquilizer dart. The snipers. You had a gun that could, I mean, it was kind of like a nuke tube, but it was like a giant futuristic gun. You had the laser gun, the Sentinel. I mean, you had crossbow, samurai. That's the laser one, samurai. I mean, it had crazy amounts of guns, crazy fun, and then, like I said, story mode was awesome. Good characters, good villains. But also you had the gadgets. You had the hook, you had, you know, the hacking thing, you had every gadget you want, and you could do that, you know, anytime, anywhere. And yeah, story mode was awesome. But I think multiplayer was probably the best offline multiplayer you could ever have in a James Bond game. Because first off, you can have basically any evil or good, or not good, but mostly evil Bond character that, you know, ever that you could ever think of, because they had it all. They had all the characters you could unlock. Let me see if I can find a list of them. I mean, you had Max Zorin, you had Scaramanga, you had Knick Knack, you had Mayday, you had Jaws, you had Renard, you had Goldfinger, you had Oddjob, you had Baron Samedi, you had everybody. They gave you everybody as an option to be, plus the regular characters from the story. So in that sense, you could be any character you really wanted to be in multiplayer, and it also lets you play against bots. So I mean, if you didn't have a friend over, you could play against bots, and you could customize their reaction time, their speed, their health, and you know, even yours. And each character also had like designated, you know, reaction time, speed, health, and stuff, and you can still adjust that. So like Jaws would have more health than, you know, Knick Knack or something, but Knick Knack would be faster. And you can mess with all that, which is really awesome. Because then you could basically play by yourself and still face up to 12 bots or whatever. I think that's only in the PC versions, but I think up to 6 or 7. You could still have a lot of bots to face. You could also customize what weapons were on the map. You could have snipers, you could have grenades, explosives only, which reminds me of the satchel charge, which was awesome. You could like set the timer to 5, 10, 15, 30 seconds and just drop it down and run. The game modes were awesome. You could have different game modes, and even the AI would actually play those game modes. Oddjob, you could throw his hat, which was fucking awesome. Because I remember playing with my friends, you could just chuck Oddjob's hat across the map and it would hit somebody and you'd just freak out. So that was also awesome. The maps, Skyrail was probably the most favorite. I mean, you could jump onto the... I guess the Skyrail, I forget what it's called, but you could like travel from the top of the map to the bottom of the map on it, shooting people out of it with a sniper, doing whatever. I mean, there was also Raven, which was like, you had about 2 feet of crevice in the middle, otherwise you fall off, and they also had like, God, why can't I think of it, the Skyrail stuff to go from one side to the other. Incredible game, loved it, great single player, great multiplayer. In my opinion, definitely deserves #1, but that's just me. But I've been rambling on for way too long. But that's my opinion on it. Let me know down below what you think about it, if you guys have different opinions. But yeah, for now, peace out, guys. We'll see you next time.